Alrighty guys, well we are here for a knife review. I warned you guys it was coming, and here we are. Been using this knife for about 2 weeks, I guess, a week and a half, more like it. Been fairly impressed with it so far, but as usual, I have my 3 tests, one stick fire, bow drill, and in the kitchen test to put it through, and I figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride. The knife in question today is made by Wright knives. It is the GNS. This is not the Scandi model, this is the Saber Grind. As you can see, I've used it. It's got micarta, what they call their natural finish of the micarta. I don't know if it's canvas or whatnot, but it's pretty and it's comfortable. Has a 5-inch handle, and I believe it's a 4 1/4 inch cutting edge for the blade. Sharpened spine, 1/8 inch tool steel as far as width. You know, and it's pretty much everything you'd expect out of an Wright knife. I've really enjoyed using it, but yeah, we'll get the test done. One thing I want to point out right off the bat, in reading about these blades, one of the major complaints, in fact the only major complaint that comes to mind, and this, I believe this goes back to when it was BHK, a lot of people did not like the Saber Grind because they said, and I've never seen this personally, that the grind or the edge was wavy, seemed kind of uneven. And this, I don't see that at all. So yeah, seems to be well built, well constructed, but let's get to work. Alright guys, this is a piece of white oak I harvested, I don't know, several months ago. It was still a little bit green then, but it's been sitting under my porch to dry out a little bit. I actually had this very review in mind for this piece of wood. So use just a piece of Eastern red cedar is just kind of a base to beat on. We've had, I don't know, probably 5 inches of rain in the last week and a half or so. The ground's pretty damp. My fire lay, which is just out of camera, which you'll see later, I have put down some punky pine just to keep what I'm working with here off the damp ground. So anyway, without further ado, yep, looks like it's going to be a good splitter. Gotta love some white oak. No damage to the edge. It's that Saber Grind coming into play. Went right through a couple of knots. Did pretty good. Now I purposely chose white oak because I like this as far as a review slash challenge for a blade I'm going to carry to be difficult. Normally I would not do this if I was really starting to fire to use an axe, but I want to get a feel for a blade, get to know what it can do, basically put it to the test. And you know, some people say it's kind of foolish, maybe not, but I'd rather it break when I don't need it than when I do. Still with a pretty big knot. Absolutely no damage to the grind or the cutting edge. thicker piece. Just working on some bigger pieces. Alright gang, here we go. See how she does. Now I did use some more of that pine just as a backboard of this. See if that'll take. Give that a minute to get established, I guess. This oak burns slow. Alright. Alright guys, well I call that a successful one stick fire. On to bow drill. Alright, well let's continue this GNS review. On to the bow drill. What I have here is a piece of cottonwood sent to me by a good friend of mine, Jonathan Burton, in Texas. I have actually never used cottonwood for a bow drill before. I hear it's excellent, but I've never tried it. So I'm going to get this cut down into a piece. I'll probably cut it about like that, see if I can't get a spindle and a hearth board out of this. So yeah, I'll be back. Alright, I guess we'll hit up the hearth board first, but I'm planning to use this for the spindle. I've got a wormhole or something running right through the center of this thing. I'm hoping I can make a spindle and miss that, but we'll see. I've got another piece in backup. I'd really like to save it for something else, but I may have to use it anyway. This thing is a great splitter. I will give it that. This is an absolutely awesome splitter. Easy peasy. This is a little thicker than what I would normally do, but I'm not really familiar with cottonwood. Now, cottonwood being in the poplar family, I'm pretty familiar with yellow poplar or tulip poplar, so I have an idea of how it's going to work, but not 100%. I'm going to leave it a little bit thicker to give me some fudge room. I'll have to create more dust, but that's just nothing but work there. I'll use that edge right there. And that is just, you can go real fine or you can go deep. That's just cool. And one thing that I'm just now realizing that makes this knife so usable is that really no matter where you hit with the blade to make your cut, it doesn't change. You don't have to change the angle of your wrist to make the exact same cut no matter where on the edge you come in contact. It's nice. Alright. It's a little bit close to the edge there. Alright. this. Alright. Let's find something to put that dust on. Alright. Now this bead Saber push cuts are not going to be its strong suit, I wouldn't think. Almost there. Mosquito? What? Good grief, it's 45 degrees out here. Alright, just a little bit of cottonwood bark, inner cottonwood bark to use as a bird's nest. Let's see if we can get this going. There we go, cherry. Stuck to my leaf. There we go. Alright. There we have it, fellas. Successful bow drill. Alright guys, well, if you've been paying attention to my channel, you know I'm mostly paleo. And I'm just getting my food ready for the week. Paleo is expensive. So I take a London broil and cut it down for the week. Alright guys, well thanks for joining me on this knife review slash test or whatnot. Me trying out the LT Wright Saber Grind version of the GNS. Turned out to be a great blade. You know, I came into this with a few preconceptions just because it's Saber Grind. It's probably no secret to a lot of you guys who've been following me for any length of time that my preference is the Scandi Grind. But regardless, I went into it, I used it for 2 or 3 weeks before actually starting this series of review. It took me, I think, 3 days, I guess, to put the time in and actually get it filmed. But I was genuinely surprised. LT kind of changed my bias there, so to speak. First and foremost, let's back up just a little bit and pause. In my opinion, about 50% of what makes a great blade or what makes a bad blade is all personal preference. You know, with me and my personal preferences, I could have X knife and yeah, it's a great blade. And your personal preferences mean towards you that it's a bad blade. The other 50% is a mix of design and craftsmanship, really, in my opinion. So for me, LT knocked this out of the park. Things I like about this knife. It's surprised me to say this. Things I like about it is the Saber Grind. The edge retention on this thing is absolutely amazing. I've barely had to touch it up. Like I said, I've been using it and using it hard for about 3 weeks. And the edge has stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed. Other things that I like about this knife. I love the spine. It throws better sparks than I would say just about any other knife I've ever used. Maybe the Genesis is on par with it, something like that. But for the most part, it is in a league of its own in that matter. The handle is comfy. I like the size of the knife. I like the profile. I love how, you know, it's just a slight curve. You know, it's the woodlore style. I love that sleek transition to the point. It allows you just to get into the finer spots and just really work it. The things I don't like about this knife. It's a very short list. because there's only one thing I don't like about this knife, and to be quite honest with you, it's not a big issue. I've been using this knife for 3 weeks, and I've been using it hard for 3 weeks. The only thing I don't like about it, I just said a minute ago, the handle is comfy, and it is comfortable. I have not worked up any hot spots. I haven't really had much hand fatigue with it, although I've used it a lot, so it's probably lent towards that. And I am a computer jockey, so, you know, I play in the woods. I don't live in the woods, but, well, I do live in the woods, but you guys know what I mean. The thing is, when I'm really having to push hard, doing the push cuts, like example, creating the bow drill set, pushing real hard into the or the hearth board to cut out that notch. I feel like, now granted, keep this in mind that I have big hands, I feel like it would have been easier if I would have had more meat to hang on to with the handle right here. But at the same point in time, I've seen a lot of other reviews of this style knife, and a lot of people love the fact that this melts into your hand. So it's a personal preference thing. That's what it is. Anyway, guys, well, I appreciate you joining me for this review. That's the ins and outs of that knife, at least my style. One thing I would like to do is eventually, at some point in time, I'd like to get a hold of this knife, the GNS, in the Saber Grind, and put these two babies head to head and kind of separate, you know, which grind is better for what. And maybe possibly, kind of like using this knife for the last 3 weeks did to me, maybe do away with some preconceived notions of what is better and why. But that's just an idea, throwing it out there for your guys' feedback possibly. But anyway, guys, again, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.